Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome, welcome. Good afternoon, good afternoon. Hopefully everyone had a fantastic day of trading today. It was a little bit of a whippy, choppy, kind of mean one today, I gotta say. A lot of people seem to have the same outlook as myself with that. It seemed like it was a little bit of a difficult day today across the board, but we'll get into the different patterns and everything that's set up along the way. So welcome to the daily afternoon market recap and offering overview. Over the next, like 30 to 60 minutes or so, we're going to cover what took place today and what trade setups have presented themselves per the rules outlined in the Day Trading Academy and VIP trade plans and all that. I am going to talk about every setup that presented itself today, but remember, not all patterns and setups are created equal. The ones that I'm going to be covering here, they're not going to use any common sense as a filter at all. Going long in a massive downtrend, perfect, right? Shorting at the bottom of a range, that's totally fine too. You get the picture, right? I do this to ensure total fairness in all of the patterns that we review. There's no cherry picking, right? So don't forget, before we kick off, smash the like button and let the YouTube algorithms know what's up. Heck, while you're at it, hit the subscribe button too so you don't miss the next one. So we go live every day at 1300 Eastern to go through the review and market recap and all that fun stuff too. So if you want to hang out with me and the rest of the VIPs for the entire US morning session instead of the afternoon, you can register for a 1-week trial to the private VIP live trade room to see how do we trade the markets in real time while they're actually moving. Trial members also have the access to schedule to a 30-minute phone call with me to discuss any questions you have about joining as a member. And of course, the best part is it's totally free. There's no credit card needed, none of that kind of stuff. So you can register today and you can get on the calendar for a call. If you have any questions about what we offer, what's available for you, or really anything in between, we do a Q&A after the charts and all that, and we'll definitely get things covered for you. But if I miss it, or you have a more detailed question, or you just don't have a chance, or you're watching this as a recording later, you can always shoot me an email as well, jhb@ssftg.com. So with all that out of the way, let's take a look at what happened today on our old buddy NQ and kind of see what's going on from that perspective first. Now today, like we were talking about, today is a little bit of a complicated, difficult, frustrating kind of day. Hey Bram, how's it going? Welcome, welcome. We started off the day with, a little bit of back and forth, and we got to go back to the larger perspective to gauge what really took place. In the morning brief this morning with YouTube members, we were talking about how when the market's pulling back, we want to see it pull back to some kind of zone of support, right? A wave 4 of the preceding trend is a really nice spot for that to take place. So buyers will be looking for a continuation down there, but they just couldn't quite get it down there, We missed the drive, and then we came back up and hit the highs, and now we're rotating back down again. Keep in mind, this took place over the last couple hours, so this is basically what happened today. So inside of all of this, before today actually took place, the chart looked something more along the lines of this. So it's actually looking relatively strong to try to get a reversal play back above and get a continuation move higher and kind of get this going back up towards the top, or at least to retest the inside of this. Now, as the day went on, we did end up retesting the top of it, but man, the response after that's just incredibly bearish. That said, we haven't necessarily had a 5-wave cycle to the downside, and maybe that's what this leg down is trying to do. We've got wave 1, wave 2, wave 3, now we made a new high, and now we've got an expanding. We're trying to figure out what the heck's going on here, right? We are obviously in a corrective phase. So we're coming into today with a mentality of like, okay, we can kind of go long or short. Looking at this, longs make a little bit more sense, but longs or shorts are feasible. It would be nice if it dipped a little further. So with that said, we started off the day with the first trade out of the gates, which was a short. Well, there you go. Again, this doesn't take any common sense into play, but that said, we do have the downside move. The first attempt was a bounce 3, and the bounce 3 was a complete and total failure. Let me get this scaled properly. So the drive down that we had was this really, really nice move up. We start rotating down. The sellers try to take back over for an aggressive drive. We had a really nice head and shoulders play going on. There was definitively some patterns going on here to allow the shorts to get it to go. And you can see from the entry point, there was a very nice 15-20 tick drop from there, but it didn't make it all the way to the objective. So per the rules, this was technically a -1R. That was a loss. But before all of that took place, earlier back here, you'll notice our fancy little asterisk. It's always a nice little note to go over some interesting price action. We had this beautiful avalanche wedge. absolutely gorgeous, right? We don't very typically get them setting up on a 500 tick this narrow, but it did set up really nicely. Trapped out of the lows, poked itself right back up again, twin reversal style. This was a monstrous zone of interest for buyers to try to rip higher. Full disclosure, being totally honest, I didn't get a fill. I hit bid as soon as that bull bar closed, no fill. Hit bid again, no fill. I missed the whole thing. Later on, there was a couple other ones that we'll get into in a second when we get into the actual trades, but very nice area of interest if you were fast enough. But man, that rotten bugger was quick. You had to be real fast to grab that, but I wanted to highlight it because it was a really nice pattern zone that we just typically don't see very often, and it played out perfectly. Really nice opportunity this morning, right out of the gates. Again, 9:32. Seems like everything happens at 9:30. Once we opened up again that first trade, the bounce 3 was a loss of 1R, and then we had kind of the sideways, herky-jerky gross. It almost feels like we had this left shoulder, head, right shoulder breakdown. Now, if you've been following me or watched any of those videos that we've uploaded on head and shoulders patterns, you'll note that this is an optimal head and shoulders pattern. It's got a good tilt, right? That's the right angle that you would like to see on that shoulder line. And when we break down, they continue on their merry way to the lows. So finding some follow through to the downside does make sense here, but for all the other things that we were talking about this morning, the first trade out of the gates as a short might have some challenges. That said, the second trade was a bounce 4 after we finally got out of this herky-jerky, disgusting garbage here, and that allowed a continuation back to the downside for a very quick 2R. Again, full disclosure, I was not able to get that one. Missed a couple of them today. It certainly didn't want to play ball with me. Either way. As the market continued down a little bit further, we had a really, really gigantic dive. I mean, this thing just collapsed. It got obliterated off the top, creating a huge drive down for a repetitious 1, and that did not work. Notice the drastic risk difference on this one compared to the others, right? The average risk is about, 130, 150 bucks, 150, 115, 545. So, obviously, this one's got some other issues going on here, but again, per the rules, it's a -1R, all things fair. It just didn't work out. When the market started finally catching a little bit of a base after that gigantic slide to the downside, the next move to the upside, obviously, again, common sense, not the best opportunity in the world to be looking for a long after a huge rotation, but there were some reasons to believe that this dive down might have been something a little bit larger. So there were definitely buyers in this, and it did not work. It was another -1R. Totally different from yesterday. Very difficult day in terms of the overall patterning. And we finally had an eventual move to the downside, which, once again, head and shoulders pattern, continuation to the downside, break of the neckline, easy peasy stuff. That ended up finally giving us a bounce 3 for a 2R back to the down. So when we're looking at the overall total in the end of things, there were 5 total patterns. 2 were successful, 3 were failures. That still means that the total potential today was a +1R, so it is a positive day, technically speaking. That said, within all of this back and forth, if we put on the entry flags, you'll notice that today had a lot of stuff going on, right? There was a lot of things bouncing the market around, popping it up, popping it down, all over the place. So let's dig in real quick. If we're looking at the first area, again, like I said, I was not able to get that initial entry point. I missed all of them the whole way up. But we did have that avalanche wedge break pullback, or what I thought was going to be the breakout pullback for a continuation. That ended up not being the case. Rolled a little bit lower to a new low, which offered up another buying opportunity for the buyers to try to get things going. After that rotation, we led into the move down, and here again, you'll notice I don't necessarily manage all in, all out. We had the initial short entry kicking things off, which led into the follow-through, which would have stopped a lot of traders out, and you can see I tried getting it going. Sold a little bit more, exited some of them, sold a little bit more, couldn't get it going, sold more, finally just gave up on the thing around break-even, a little bit beyond break-even, and just called it a day. Couldn't get the thing to roll over until it finally did roll over, and like I said, full disclosure, I missed that one too. I totally missed that one. We were talking about something else at the time, and it set up and it left for the station without me. Now, this is the one that I really wanted to talk about, because this is a great example of a pattern that's technically still valid, but the risk tolerance is huge compared to the norm. right? The normal risk tolerances are like 150, 160, 115, 120. So a risk pattern that sets up with 545 on the risk side, there's obviously something a little bit different. And you'll notice the way that this was managed was drastically different. This is a lot more along the lines of hedge fund style trading in terms of piecing in and piecing out with a hard zone of entrance and a short-term objective area. One thing that you'll notice if we stretch this out and we take this entire thing and slide this to the downside, and take that and slide this to the downside. These are the scalp target areas for all of the shorts that we're trying to get the move in, just so that there's context as to what I'm trying to talk about here. And I can delete those so they don't take up so much space. So sellers are obviously trying to get the rotation to the downside. You'll notice selling into the initial move, taking profit into the scalper's target. I didn't like that next rally up, so I hung out for a little while, but sold a little bit more into this area. It's still all off of the exact same pattern zone, but it's a different style of management. It's a lot more aggressive. Selling a little bit more, taking profit into the scalp target. We broke on through, looking to utilize it as resistance, selling back down to the scalp target. Didn't follow through, so we've got to exit the rest at break even. That was actually a slight loss, technically. And then led up into retesting the break even. Tried to get back in, followed through a little bit further than I wanted, and actually even took a loss here because it looked like it was going to start rolling up. So I exited some of them to kind of mitigate against the risk, and when it slid back down, tried to get it to go again, and it just couldn't get the job done. So ended up being a hard exit, just calling it quits. As the market rolled back up and finally pushed back into where the original stop would be, you'll notice there's a couple more entries. Because very typically, again, traders who are trading all in, all out with hard stops and hard entries, it's pretty reliable what they're going to do with their stops. They'll put them there. But Goldman and JP and all of those traders with all those zeros in their accounts, they know what's going on. They still want to maintain the short. They're not stupid, right? This market's still trying to go lower. They still want to try to get the thing to go and keep, that giant drive down, get another leg. But it's just not doing it in a perfect way. Welcome to the market. So if they're selling some here, they scalp out, sell more, scalp out. Finally breaks out a little bit further up. Sell a bit more, scalp out, drive your average higher. Piece out of a little bit more. As it goes back up, sell a little bit more. You kind of get the idea, right? So even though the market's rotating back up, and even though this was a failure pattern, there are a lot of ways to manage it inside of there that would create a situation that's not even close to a failure pattern. Looking on the other side of things, when it rotated back up to a new high, we tried rolling back up and getting things to reverse, even so much so as to rotate above a confirmed swing. So very nice rotation back up, tried getting things going. You'll notice I tried buying in, but very quickly gave up on it. They just weren't getting the bounce. As it slid a little bit lower on the assumable buyers getting stopped out, nice little stop run, flush out, quick little pickup. Tried getting it to go for the initial rally, but as you'll see, final exit there, it just couldn't get the job done. So I couldn't follow through. And then the last one at the end of the day was during training time, so I was half paying attention, but a nice little pop to the downside. I could have held on for longer. Like I said, I was half paying attention at the time anyway. But it is what it is. Obviously, trading the patterns themselves, if you were looking at them on the surface, it's a +1R day today, but there's a lot of internal information that we can take away from this that really kind of shows how the market moves inside of there. Now, I did hear from a lot of people that today was incredibly difficult. It was not an easy day of trading for a lot of folks. So if you had a tough day today, you're not alone, first of all. And second of all, if there's a trade or a pattern or a setup that you want me to take a look at for you and review for you, drop those in the chat and I'll get those covered for you as well. But it's one of those days, night and day difference compared to yesterday, where yesterday was just easy peasy, straight up, straight to the target. If it failed really quickly. If it worked really quickly. There's just no hesitation. And then you go into a day like today where it's like, ugh, man, it looks nice, but when you break it down from a pattern side of things, you realize it's actually kind of challenging. Funny how that works, huh? Even with some of the biggest moves, sometimes it just leaves you behind. A couple of things that I wanted to take a look at while we've got this going on as well. We've got a really nice amount of movement happening over on the cryptosphere. And speaking of cryptosphere, while we're on the topic, we did just launch going into, or not quite into December yet, but going for December for all of you crypto traders out there. We are running, and I plan to run this for a while, a 10% discount if you want to use cryptocurrencies to check out. So just as a side note, before we start digging into the charts and looking at other markets, if you're looking to upgrade or looking to become a member anytime soon, we are doing a 10% discount when you use cryptocurrency. So shoot me a message, I'll get you set up if you're looking for it that route. But that way, trying to integrate that cryptocurrency, mass adoption, baby. We got to get it in there. Looking at the markets, one obviously that I've been talking about for a really long time, Crow. Crow's been pulling back a little bit. We're holding on to this area at around the 71 cent zone and kind of ping-ponging back and forth. But we've been talking about it, a lot of the same ones. Nothing's really been that new from the crypto sphere, aside from, like Wax and some of those. So one thing that's been sorely missing is doing a little bit of product research and seeing if we can find some markets of actual interest here. And that also goes along for stocks and any other markets if you have one in mind that you want me to take a look at for you. One of my favorite resources for this, though, is CoinMarketCap. And CoinMarketCap, generally speaking, the ones up at the top here are garbage. I almost never look at these. 9 times out of 10, they're not going to get anywhere anyway. What I like looking at instead is modifying this to the 24-hour view, but seeing if there are any that are down or up on the week but down today. Those are my favorites. That doesn't look to be the case so much. Maker's kind of flat. And now we're starting to get into the downs. All right, well, since we're not really finding anything in that criteria, let's look at what's been hammered. What's been smashed? Zcash is down 12.4%. I don't look at Zcash too much. Ooh. Okay, now hold on just a second here. So one thing on Zcash, and this is why I love this as a resource, because it was that easy to find a coin of interest. Zcash obviously has been around for a little while, and if you're not familiar with it, doing a little bit of product research is always a good idea. You can click on the coin and then go to z.cash, which is a pretty easy website to remember, but it's all about privacy. That's the whole thing about this. It's a digital currency designed with privacy in mind. So privacy right now, considering everything that's going on in the world, is kind of a hot topic, right? People are really digging the privacy stuff. That makes me think, hey, obviously, Zcash is doing great, right? This looks like it's doing really well. If we zoom out to a daily chart, we can see that it's also doing okay. It's not bad, considering the lows down at $17 and it's trading at $220. I'd say that's a pretty good span. That said, though, this is pretty expensive. Like $220 a coin, that's kind of rough. Are there any other privacy coins that might be kind of interesting? So we can go in and let's see, do they have privacy? Right there. So when you go into the tags, go into view all and find privacy. Let's see what other ones are on the list that aren't necessarily a bajillion dollars. Here's one. Oh man, this is a flashback for you old school members who've been around for a really long time. You remember talking about Verge? You remember this bad boy? I'm curious. It's been more than a minute. Let's see what that looks like. We're going to have to go to probably Poloniex, right? Bittrex? Yeah, there we go. Yeah, there we go. It's been a while. Okay. So as far as Verge goes, it's another privacy coin, which, again, this is one that was trading as low as 0.0000903. 5 zeros 903. And this is in USD, USDT. So that is an incredibly small fractional price. It was worth less, basically. That said, it topped out at 8 cents. If we know that privacy coins are something or somewhat of a hot topic, and the other ones down the list are, $118, $105. Oasis, Rose, that's 30 cents. Secret, $6. Verge, 2 cents. Flux, $1.69. I'm not saying just because they're cheap, these are the ones that are going to have to go. But in terms of the hype train, these are the ones that are going to find the most value. Because people don't necessarily... Put it this way, I would rather own 1 million coins of something rather than a 1/1,000,000th of a coin of something. Even if they're the exact same value, right? It's just the way my brain works, at least. I don't know if you guys are the same as me, but those are the ones that jump out. So Rose would be another one that I would want to take a look at, along with Verge. And let's see what this one's about. So we've got XVG, which is one of possible interest. We'll add it to the list real quick and then see if we can find Rose. And we'll also add that one to the list. So as far as the overall back and forth that's going on with these privacy coins, along with Zcash, right? Remember, don't forget we're also looking at Zcash along the lines here. They're all struggling. Verge is struggling the least comparatively, and Zcash is struggling the most, down almost 10%. It makes sense because it had the largest rally. But the way that this is kind of moving, given that we can compare it to Rose and Verge and some of these others, it looks very similar, except Zcash had a huge jump above the top, and the others did not. So, while Rose kind of did, Verge really didn't. And from a privacy coin perspective, if we're looking at ones of interest, Verge, I know I've used in the past, and it's worked out just fine in the past. It doesn't mean that it's still a good project. But this is one that I would want to add to my list of further research. So when I'm looking at further research, what I'm talking about is when I go on it, this is the stuff that I don't want to see, right? We've received reports from the Verge team that withdrawals are being impeded. That could just be a right now thing, right? But seeing warnings as soon as I open it up and the fact that it's rank 172, it's kind of a turnoff, right? That's not exactly what I want to see. So let's go a different route here and take a look at Oasis Network, which is the coin name Rose. There's no warnings, which is kind of nice, you know. But what I like doing when I'm doing product research like this is going in and actually trying to use it myself, right? Going in and trying to create an account or getting involved with it or seeing what it is and really digging into it. In that way, I know, right? Is it user-friendly? Does the platform rock? Or is it garbage, right? I'm not going to know until I actually sink my teeth into it. And that's the kind of product research that I'm talking about. So Oasis Foundation Rose is one. Verge might have been one, but it's got some issues. And Zcash, the privacy coins in general, seem to be one of potential interest sooner than later. Now, if we flip over, one of the other ones that I wanted to take a look at, because obviously the markets are in a little bit of a dive here, we also have some of the old favorites on the stock side of things. When we're looking at these big moves, obviously oil's been getting absolutely obliterated, but let's look at some of these too, because these are going to be pulling back into major zones of interest along with it. Let's see here. So first off, Pfizer. Obviously, Pfizer's off to the moon. They're like the only market that's actually up today. Hasbro has a nice little V-bottom off the lows, but man, how about if we drag this a little bit further? How do they respond after the move? Yeah, I was going to say, they might have a low-weighted POC. Hasbro, symbol HAS, is going to be more interesting down in the 73.33s. I think there's just more support down there. We've also got Disney, which is starting to pull back off the top. It peaked out at $203. It's now pulling back down to around 144 at the moment. The previous major POC that they left behind is down at 117 into the 120s. It's going to be a big zone of interest as well. McDonald's just never stops going up. CCL and all the cruise liners and all that. I just don't think it's far enough. Not with a low of 780. Going into winter season, you know, like... Not Caterpillar. Caterpillar's previous volume node is back at 209. Ouch. This last rally up, we've got a POC that's weighted underneath 100 at 92. So Caterpillar's got some issues. They got to keep going to the upside. I don't want them to fall too much. Otherwise, they're going to have some issues. Alright, pop that out of the way. Perfect. Let's see here. We've still got a little bit of time. It's only 1:30, so feel free to get those questions in, but we can also use a little bit of time here, since we've got the product research stuff out of the way. We've already gone over the patterns and all that. See if we can find some scalps on the S&P to keep the afternoon going a little bit. It's only 1:20. We might be able to grab some extra little moves here for the next 20 or so minutes, and then we can wrap it up. Next zone of interest on the S&P, more likely going to be around like the 79.50s, I would assume. Given the way that things are going at the moment on the NASDAQ, they've got some back and forth issues. See if they can get something going over here. We've got the S&P, which obviously has had a lot of action today. Nice bull bar off the base that buyers may try to get to lift a little bit further up, but still kind of questionable. Nice bull engulfing candle too. I mean, we could easily see how the bulls might want to try to follow this through and get a bit more continuation. A little bit of a fist fight going on. If the bulls do not trigger above this most recent S&P bull bar, then realistically buyers, I mean, they might have a shot for a little bit of continuation up to the 79.50s, but if they can't even trigger the bulls in, they've got some issues. More likely there's a lot more support down in the 69 quarters to draw some attention. And given the overall bearish pressure, I mean, it's hard to really want to be too bullish, you know? That's a really tough call. I would much rather be a seller going into the this move to the downside, especially noting that the 60-minute S&P is now a fully fledged bear trend. Oops, sorry about that. There we go. NASDAQ's got a little bit of back and forth. We've got kind of the top that poked its head out here at 58.75 with a little pip trap at the top. Good old pick your pocket. Got the stop out and then rallied or dropped on down through the lows. Bulls trying to get it to pulse back above the top here and get things going. Very, very troublesome spot, though. Tick strike lighten up a little bit, showing bulls coming in on the NASDAQ. The question is, are these bulls... Is that popping, is that really just Goldman absorbing all of the stops that are likely above this little inside swing? That makes a little bit more sense. Zone of resistance on the S&P hovering around the 79.50s for a continuation back down. This thing's like in the middle of no man's land right now.
It says, I think a financial crisis was averted during the pandemic.
Little bit of a pullback, starting to dip off of the top there and starting to pierce back down. Nice little drive lower. Twin reversal, possibly on the NASDAQ for the faster time frame. Also seeing some selling pressure coming in. The S&P, I'm just seeing if I can grab 79.50, but I'm not so sure it's going to make it there. Five seconds left on this candle, going to be closing out relatively weak. Doesn't necessarily prove anything. Just a lot of sideways. The bear pressure still remains more appealing especially after that. But that's not exactly the strongest bear bar either. It doesn't shut down the bulls. It might make them a bit nervous. $79.50. Woof. There it is. $78.50 is the objective. Lordy. And sweeping out the scalp target. Nice quick little pulse back to the downside. I certainly wasn't expecting it to jump up that fast. Jeez. Nice little afternoon scalp. A point a day. A point a day keeps the job away, right? The JOB. Nice little retrace off of that zone. Maybe that's what we should try to do too at the end. See if we can get like a point a day, just to make it so that we can. That'll be the motto. I like it. Nice little spot. Worked out for a quick little afternoon scalp to the downside. Not too bad. Let's do a final call for questions. We'll start wrapping it up, and we'll go through the ending spiel. See if we can keep our eyes open for any other scalping opportunities. So far, the S&P's only offered up the one. Now, again, if you're looking for a way to join me during the New York Stock Exchange and during the Open and all of that, you can check out the 3 different VIP packages that are available on SSFTG. They run from 9 a.m. to 12 every day, so you got 3 hours of primetime market, plus VIPs, which would be one of those packages. They have permanent access to the live trade room, so you don't have to worry about any extra fees or annoying monthly bills or any of that other garbage. It's part of the membership. Nice little resistance zone off of that to pressure back down on the S&P. Yeah, all 3 VIP packages, keep in mind, come with live trade room access. To really ensure that you're on the right track, all the packages also come with between 3 and 10 one-hour calls with me over Zoom or a couple other ways too, but it depends on the tier, right? If you have 3 or 10 calls that come along with it, but you get 1 hour with me where we can set up your computer, the charts, key bindings, and everything else so we can rock and roll. And along with that, that also gives us time so we can work on personal trade plans, any questions that you have along the way, anything else that you want to talk about on the calls. So a lot of really cool stuff when you sign up. All right. Well, I'm not seeing any of the questions coming in, so nice little afternoon scalp. I'd like to see if we can get 1 or 2 of those every single day. And while I'm going through this, it'd be nice to see if we can grab another one too. But all right, folks, that's going to do it for this one. I hope you enjoyed your time in the afternoon. We had a nice little scalp to kind of kick things off. Pretty good day today as a whole. Again, all things considered, it's been a little bit of a frustrating, kind of irritating day. Certainly nowhere near as nice as yesterday. But still, with just the patterns ending at a positive 1R, can't be too upset by it. The market's incredibly confusing. It's incredibly frustrating. Today's a great example of that. I get it, right? We all get it. Maybe you just hit your stop for the second time today, or maybe it took out 3 of your trades and only gave you 2 winners. We've all been there, right? And it's just part of trading. But when you're feeling like you're ready to break your monitor in half or throw your keyboard across the room, consider saving yourself a little bit of cash. Sign up for the 1-week trial here at SSFTG. It's totally free. You get to hang out with me and the other VIPs for a week in the live trade room, so you get to kind of see what it's all about. And like I said, that room runs from 9 in the morning until 12. And along with that, when you register for a trial as a trial member, you can also schedule a 30-minute phone call with me so we can sit down and we can talk about stuff. Right? You can talk about any questions that you have before joining up and pretty much anything else.
It was crucial for the Fed to recognise that it could have faced losses with Med.
Now, like I said, we already know the market's confusing. It's frustrating. And, man, today drove that point home. But approaching it without a plan, that's a bajillion times worse. We always equate it to skydiving without a parachute. Or maybe trading's just brand new and you're just trying to figure it all out. Or maybe you're just looking for a solid trade plan to get you on the right foot. Either way, head over to the Day Trading Academy because, well, that's loaded up with 19 plus hours of video material to teach you why the market's doing what it's doing. And that way you can kind of better prepare yourself for the next day. Along with that, if you pick up the Academy, you also get the upgrade coupon. So when you're ready to move up to one of the 3 VIP packages, you get the cost of the Academy taken off to boot. So it's kind of a win-win. S&P still climbing a little bit further up. I'm kind of eyeballing this area here, but I gotta say, it's difficult to not see this as a potential for a 2-legged move up. And a 2-legged pulse, that puts it, oh man, that's a nice spot. Right there. 2-legged corrective phase back up, 45.90. See if we can grab another one if it wants to jump. Maybe we can get things going. Like I said, when you sign up, when you sign up as a VIP, all 3 VIP packages come with a live Trader room access as part of memberships. You don't have to worry about any of the monthly bills. You also get anywhere between 3 and 10 one-hour calls with me to go over all kinds of fun stuff, trade plan development and all that. But one other thing to note, VIP Plus and VIP Elite packages also come with a huge added safety net for new traders with the APN Plus. This allows you to create a safety net that you can rely on should things go south in trading. It happens. It's something to be prepared for, right? Not to mention that you also gain the rewards the longer you go without using the APN Plus refund. So even if you don't ever end up needing it, just refund out a couple years down the road and go on a nice vacation to the family to celebrate the trading instead, right? If you want more info on what the APN Plus is all about, you can get all of that on the APN Plus guide at the top of SSFTG on the right side there. And of course, along with that, while we're going into the holiday season, it's important to note that the holiday season tends to be incredibly expensive. So if you're looking for a more budget-friendly approach to fit your needs during these holidays and all that fun stuff, don't forget as well, we also have VIP access monthly payments ranging from as low as $84 a month for 12 months. And you get the 1-week trial and all the other stuff to kind of check things out. So there's so many different ways to approach it. It's nuts. But if you need any more info about becoming a member, or if you have anything else that you want to get covered, shoot me a message. My email is jhb@ssftg.com, and I can help you out from there. I don't think I'm going to get that pop up into that S&P, but at least we got the one scalp for today. We got a nice little scalp to the downside. Got a rejection for a quick 1 point a day, keeps the job away type move, right? But that's going to do it. So overall, I hope you had an amazing morning this morning. I hope you have an amazing rest of your day. And of course, tomorrow, hopefully you have a great day too. Hopefully, if you aren't already yet a member on the YouTube side of things, you can sign up with the join button below. But that way you can hang out with me tomorrow morning before the New York Stock Exchange Open while we do our morning brief, and we create our game plan with YouTube members as well as VIPs. So cool little way to kind of get a little inside look there. But otherwise, for the rest of you, if you're not hanging out with me tomorrow morning, then I will see you tomorrow afternoon when we do this again at 1300 Eastern. We go over all the patterns, see if we can find another point a day, and yeah, we'll rock and roll. So enjoy the rest of the day. I hope you had a great one, and we will see you all tomorrow. Thanks.